the chip shortage is very persistent right now. We said in our call last night that for Marvell, we see supply improving in the second half of this year, which is great and leading into next year. However, I still think it's not enough for the industry. And I would agree with Secretary Raimondo's remarks that this shortage is not going to be a quick fix. But I think the industry, the chip makers, the suppliers, and all the customers are rallying together to optimize the supply and demand to solve it as quickly as possible.
Do you agree with her timeline as well, that it will remain a daily challenge for the next year or so? Because some think that it's going to persist longer than that.
Yeah, I think it really depends, Deirdre, on which part of the semiconductor industry you're talking about. You'll hear different companies come out. It's about a $500 billion global industry in terms of revenue. So there's definitely different pockets of the industry that are more constrained than others. As you've probably seen, there's been a lot of headline news about automotive and that end market having a lot of shortages. So there's been intense focus from multiple governments putting pressure on the suppliers and the supply chain to rectify that. That could actually have some unintended consequences if we're not careful, because this is a delicate supply chain that's global in nature. And so I think right now, pretty much every end market and industry within semiconductors is up and to the right. And so it does present a challenge. So I think some of the pockets of shortage will be alleviated earlier, but there are certain pain points that I think may take into that time frame to really resolve themselves completely.
Matt, part of the recommendations, as you know, involve Congress potentially providing at least $50 billion to boost U.S. production. Does that number sound like it's in the ballpark?
Yeah, that's in the ballpark of, I think, what we've been advocating for as the U.S. chip industry. I'm a member of the board of the SIA, or the Semiconductor Industry Association. And so we commend the administration's progress they're making in terms of realizing that funding. I would say, though, to make sure that we don't conflate the two issues right now, I think you have an issue of global supply and demand imbalance, and that's independent of geography at this point. That has nothing to do with whether fabs are located in Taiwan or the United States or wherever. That's one where industry forecasts went way above where the capacity was in place. Now, that being said, I think there are certain national security and economic security issues around the funding of advanced manufacturing in the United States, which I think is a good thing for the U.S., but it's not a quick fix either, and that's going to take time. So I think starting with this funding of the CHIPS Act is great, and I think the industry needs to come together to create that balance. But right now, the shortage has actually nothing to do with where the manufacturing is located. Sometimes that gets a little confused in all of the noise around the chip industry.